Hello and welcome to Informed Entrepreneur Magazine. My name is Mike Baumstar. I'm a small business owner myself, and today I'm interviewing Avis Renshaw of Mom's Apple Pie Company. Welcome, Avis.
Welcome, thank you.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to interview Avis, ask questions about her business, maybe see if we can stump her on a couple of questions, and go from there. But first off, let's just start out with, what is Mom's Apple Pie Company? Give us the picture of what it is.
It's a small local business. It's a bakery that is supported by an actual farm here in the Loudoun County. We grow blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, pumpkins. We grow asparagus and spinach for quiche. So the foundation of the business is real food.
Wow.
And it's grown locally. We use minimal fertilizer, herbicides, and try to be as organic as possible.
Awesome, awesome. Having just walked into your shop, I noted that the temptations are striking when you walk in that.
I'm a little embarrassed about that. Yeah.
especially the Texas cake.
Yeah, the Texas chocolate sheet cake.
I'd recommend that anybody anywhere near Leesburg, you must stop in to her store, which is on Loudoun Street.
It's right at the corner of Loudoun and Market.
Yeah. Now you'll see credits at the end of the video, so you can know how to find out about her business and ask her questions if you want. But I just thought that Texas cake was particularly striking, and it's almost like you have to take one with you just to experience having a piece of cake.
I'm so upset. I wish you were saying that the fresh blackberry pie really called to you because of the good fresh fruit.
Okay, guilty. You know, I'll eat a Hershey bar occasionally. Actually, I've eaten very large Hershey bars just to try to get it out of my system. It didn't work. Anyway, let's get back to the interview. So tell me where you came from originally. How did you wind up where you are today?
I had a person actually explain this to me in a sentence that never occurred to me quite recently, that I'm a military brat, so we traveled constantly as a family growing up, and I ended up marrying a farmer. So what is more stationary than a farmer who literally,
Wow.
roots the ground? You don't go anywhere.
You want to knock off this traveling everywhere thing.
I guess, or I was looking to be grounded.
Yeah, so to speak.
Yeah.
So to speak, that's right.
So,
and you were born where?
I was born in Tampa. I'm a Florida cracker.
Okay, all right. And so you married this man who owned a farm.
Yes.
He's a farmer. All right, now, what was he already in business, or did this entrepreneurial spirit just jump out at you?
I actually worked for a farm market, Cox Farms, where he and his brother had started a farm market, and I was, farm market girl. I worked in the fields a little bit, but not too much. And that's how we started our relationship, just knowing each other. So.
Wonderful. Now, the Mom's Apple Pie Company, tell us how that was started.
That was started after the farm market enterprise went bust, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So we didn't want to go on welfare, and so we started making pies with a gal, Laura, that worked with us at the farm market. And when she was pregnant, she stopped working, but she made a couple pies on the weekends, and they would literally sell out within minutes. And so when we stopped doing the farm market, she said, "Well, why don't we do this together?"
Wow.
So,
Now, this location, how did that come about?
Actually, that came about because a friend of mine who has a farm market, Hall Kearns, he had a farm market for many years, Reston Farm Market, and we used to sell him pies. His friend was leasing this property and wanted somebody in there.
Okay.
And so he asked me if I wanted to do that. And I had loved this building for years, from the first time I saw it.
It's a great location and a very unique looking place.
Yeah, and it's cute, and it's small and intimate, which is a thing that I like. And I think it's in a time of big box stores, like Target and Walmart and Costco, where it's overwhelming sometimes.
It's terrible, in my opinion.
I think there's better ways to get exercise than shopping for groceries in a big box store. But in an era of that, I think it's something that's missing in our daily lives. I think as humans, we respond better to a smaller, more intimate group of people and places. And it's almost a little refuge.
Yes.
You know? When you go in there, you're likely to see the same person behind the counter every Wednesday.
Yes.
you have a little bit of a relationship with somebody,
Right.
and which is kind of the way we used to be until very recently, as a human species.
Society, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, most of us are trying to get back there somehow. At the end of the video, I am going to do some video of the store and a little bit of the inside, because when I walked in your door there, I was struck by just the warmth and the interesting things and the fresh flowers, and everything just looks so cool. And it is small, it's quaint, and the people were immediately friendly. So I can see why people would want to come there and hang out.
Well, yeah, it's genuine, you
Yeah.
know, it's not flowers grown in Brazil and sent up here. It's flowers grown on the farm by my husband's sister, and
Wow.
truly lovingly grown and picked and created into bunches, and I think that comes across.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, tell us a couple of things that you found notable struggles as you began to open Mom's Apple Pie Company.
Okay, so we're going back a long way. I mean,
How long have you been at this, in this store?
almost long enough to make money.
We're expecting to break even next year.
That's right.
Okay.
Since about 81, we incorporated in 84. We were
Okay.
doing it out of our house at first, and then going behind our house in Reston, and then we moved into an industrial park.
Okay.
And so a long time.
Fantastic. Okay, so the struggles now that you've experienced over this 25-year period, about maybe more, almost 30 years, right?
I would say ignorance is probably the biggest one. And
Not knowing what? Anything about business?
not knowing how to do, sort of long-term financial planning, not understanding the tax system well enough to do it correctly, not understanding the penalties of not doing it correctly.
Yes.
I would say that I might not have done it if I had known. I mean, there's enough to scare you with it when you look back in retrospect. You say, "Oh, good, ignorance was bliss," and it got you to this point. But it would have been nice to be a little better educated, and I think there are more programs now for small businesses that are starting that were not really available back then.
Yes.
And when you're young, you kind of think, I can figure it out, I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah, there was a time maybe when that could be done, but in today's environment, the pitfalls are absolutely everywhere in making a mistake, doing something wrong. I know the Leesburg Economic Development Council, who we interviewed, Miranda Edwards,
Right.
recently, she certainly has a lot of resources, and she's trying to put the word out to people to come to us for some resources. Also, Susan Henson, who runs the George Mason Small Business Incubator, I've chatted with her, so there's some resources that we'd like to promote more, so people don't wind up, being in the dark and hurting when you're doing a wonderful thing. Because I really believe one of the reasons I love doing this is because small business is the backbone of the country. It's going to be the salvation of the economics of this country, is small business surviving everything that's hitting us. So we really want to advocate and try to get small businesses to avoid as many pitfalls as possible. Okay, so any other specific struggle that you remember?
Well, monetary struggles always.
Of course.
Having enough capital to make
Yes.
the next leap if you're doing a certain size business.
Yes.
I mean, certainly we were sort of saved by friends who had enough belief in us to invest in us and
Super.
family.
Super.
And it was hurtful at times, for them. It came at cost. But in the end, it worked.
Yes, okay. Yeah, that would not be an uncommon, neither one of those things. I've also heard from many other business owners that ignorance was sort of bliss. If you'd been warned in advance of everything you'd be going through or hoops you have to jump through, it'd have been very difficult to get yourself to probably launch. So,
Right.
I'm told that one of the things about childbirth is that the woman kind of forgets the bad stuff and remembers the good stuff, which normally will make her open to doing it again because she's forgotten the bad stuff. So maybe somewhat of an analogy for.
It got harder for me every time, I have to say. I didn't
But you
forget too much.
went ahead and did it.
That's right, I forgot enough to do it again, I guess.
Gotcha. Okay, a couple of things that you consider that have been successful, things you've experienced in your business. A couple of successful things. Can be personal enjoyment, can be the effect on people, can be, hey, we figured this out.
I think one of the successful things is having employees that have been with us for over 20 years.
Wow.
And the benefit to my children in terms of seeing what real life is like, you know, where mom and dad's income depends on the season and sometimes whether there's a drought or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that hard work really is important.
Yes.
And it can be satisfying.
Fantastic.
One of my daughters made very clear for me something that had never dawned on me, that people regard manual laborers as not smart enough to get a white-collar job.
Yeah, that is so true.
And as my daughter said, I don't have that experience. Dad is probably the most intelligent human
Yes.
I have met, and yet he is also the most hardworking
Yes.
guy I've ever met. And so there's no disconnect for me between the two.
Yes.
Whereas culturally speaking, that is not the case in America.
That's a very, very good point. It is just inaccurate.
Incredibly inaccurate.
It really is. Any other successes or satisfactions you've experienced from being in business? I mean, certainly you must be pleased at the response of people with what you do.
I guess I am. I mean, I am proud to be able to bring real food to the table, so to
Yes.
speak.
Yes.
Especially now when you consider how very little real food people eat. They eat an awful lot of processed foods, an awful lot of, you know, pastas and white breads and non-nutritive food.
Yes.
And I'm glad that we have a product on the market that people can pretty safely buy without feeling too guilty. You know, and I'm talking about pies, not the Texas chocolate cake,
Yes.
okay? We have a few of
I
those.
am going to take a little video of the Texas chocolate cake just to let everybody know. But I'm also going to get a little bit of blueberry pie and also some quiche.
Only if you give equal time to the real fruit. That's right. Okay.
That's great. Okay, in closing, talking to other business owners or even people that are contemplating business, is there a word of wisdom you'd like to pass on to them just based on your lot of experience in business?
If you can get financially funded and you're okay with the stress of owing money,
Yes.
and you've got a good plan, I would heartily suggest doing that up front. When we started, I literally was making pies in my kitchen, selling them to a farm market, getting the cash, going straight to the grocery store, buying the next tins, the next apples to peel, etc., and having just enough left over to put gas in the car to make the run again.
I see.
So being, you know, financially
Prepared.
on a good level is a good thing.
Yes.
Don't go into it with this common misconception that a business owner has all the time in the world and gets to do this and that, because often it's the business owner that's there on the weekend. It's the business owner that's there on the holiday. It's the business owner that's there
Yes.
after hours when things have gone wrong to make sure that the next day can go better.
Yes.
So having all the time in the world is the biggest misconception about owning a business.
It is, and you know, it was, as I've interviewed and as I've talked to people over the several last years, what I find is that a lot of people go into business for the reason of having their own calendar, having their own time, being able to take time off. And what I found is that almost without exception, the owners, until they get up to level 8 and 9 in business, they are spending more time and they realize that they are not achieving that goal they went into business about. But it's enough of a hope that they keep going, and it can be done.
Right.
It can be done.
And I'll say that one of the best things about being in business for ourselves is that our kids have a very realistic view of what being in business is, and have a work ethic that is compatible with reality.
Yes, and I would say if they have a work ethic at all, it's unusual these days. It seems like that's something that's missing in society's work ethic.
Well, when you know, what do you have to do when you live in the suburbs? Take out the garbage.
Yeah.
Whereas when you are in a family business, for us, Thanksgiving, everybody's working around the clock,
Yes.
you know, or somebody's order isn't getting filled.
Yeah.
And so getting that understanding that that need is there and that you can fulfill it, it gives the business the ability to sustain itself, and it gives your kids a comprehension of how important work ethic is, how important it is to work with your family, and I think that's big. I think
Yes,
that's
it's
real big.
fantastic, fantastic. Well, Avis, I really enjoyed interviewing you today.
Thank
It's
you
been a
very
pleasure.
much.
Thank you for joining us today on Informed Entrepreneur Magazine with Avis Renshaw, Mom's Apple Pie Company. Keep watching, and I'll take a little bit of a video of the shop and let you enjoy that. And then the credits will show how to contact Avis if you want to ask questions or figure out how to get there and have a nice, healthy quiche pie.
Okay.
Thanks very much.